September 2015, police from the Longquan Police Station in Yiling District, Hubei Province received a phone call. Many villagers reported that a man named Chang Shihai had disappeared without a trace. He had not been seen in the village for more than 1 month, and his phone was turned off. The village was a closed and conservative rural area where people liked to gossip but were also timid and afraid of offending others. They fell silent as soon as the police arrived. Since direct questioning led to no progress, the police conducted secret inquiries. Some villagers said Chang Shihai might have gone to Inner Mongolia to work. It was said that 3 or 4 young people had gone together, introduced to work in mines in Inner Mongolia. Later, the police contacted the families of these young people, who said they had indeed left together, but Chang Shihai was not among them. The police also checked stations in Yichang City and found no records of Chang Shihai traveling elsewhere. The police determined that Chang Shihai was probably still in the local area, but his complete disappearance meant something must have happened to him. Besides, Chang Shihai was in his prime but had not gone out to work for more than 10 years. It was hard to believe he would suddenly become hardworking. So where did this rumor come from? Later, Chang Shihai's parents told the police that his wife had visited them and told them the story. Chang Shihai's wife was named Xiong Jiafen. After they got married, Chang Shihai left his parents' home to live with his wife. So his parents knew less about Chang Shihai's situation than Xiong Jiafen did. The police made secret visits to neighbors, who said they had heard sounds of fighting and Chang Shihai's cries for help coming from Xiong Jiafen's home. Chang Shihai's family was extremely poor. Even in 2015, they still lived in an earthen house. His parents were elderly, and his father was bedridden all year round with no ability to work. Good grief! His parents were nearly 80 years old while Chang Shihai was in his 30s. He was probably the spoiled only son born to his elderly parents due to the rural preference for sons. The character of such men was all too common in many such cases. Because his family was poor, Chang Shihai went to live with his wife's family after marriage. To put it nicely, he was a live-in son-in-law. But his married life was not harmonious after the wedding. It was ridiculous that people claimed women in rural areas relied on men for support, so it was only right for men to beat women. How could it still be right for men to beat women even when they were live-in sons-in-law supported by their wives' families? Xiong Jiafen was in her second marriage when she was with Chang Shihai. She had cheated on her first husband and gotten involved with this worthless man. It made me so angry that I wanted to curse out loud. She must have lost her mind and brought this on herself. Xiong Jiafen had her first marriage at the age of 18. It was simply outrageous. She had a daughter before reaching the legal age for marriage. To support the family, her first husband Gao Congzhang went out to work. Xiong Jiafen was only 20 years old at that time. Think about it. Could someone that young understand what family and responsibility meant? People of that age should normally be in college, thinking about what to eat that afternoon. But Xiong Jiafen already had a child, and her husband was away all year. There was little entertainment in the countryside, so she mostly went out to play mahjong. She met Chang Shihai while playing mahjong. Her husband was away for a long time, and Chang Shihai was good at sweet talk. The two got involved before long. The secret could not be kept, and Xiong Jiafen probably thought Chang Shihai was better at pleasing her. She eventually divorced her first husband, and their 8-year-old daughter lived with her. After that, Xiong Jiafen married Chang Shihai with her daughter. From Gao Congzhang's point of view, he was unwilling to divorce. He worked away all year and needed a woman to keep the home. Besides, giving custody of his daughter to Xiong Jiafen meant he lost the home he had built after marriage. Due to issues over their daughter's upbringing, Gao Congzhang kept in close contact with Xiong Jiafen after their divorce. The police found that Xiong Jiafen and Gao Congzhang had been in very frequent contact during Chang Shihai's disappearance. There was one important incident. In June 2011, Chang Shihai had been sent to prison and served a sentence of 5.5 years. He was imprisoned in the second year after marrying Xiong Jiafen. He had just been released that year and went back to live in Xiong Jiafen's home. After Chang Shihai's release, Xiong Jiafen asked for a divorce. But Chang Shihai refused to agree. The reason was simple. His family was so poor that he naturally refused to leave this source of support. Xiong Jiafen was determined to divorce at all costs. She even paid money and hired a lawyer. But Chang Shihai kept refusing. I really wanted to curse out loud. Could a divorce not happen if the man refused to agree? Murder was done with a single step, but divorce was harder than murder. Xiong Jiafen not only wanted a divorce but was also eager to remarry. The man she planned to remarry was her ex-husband Gao Congzhang. Everyone involved in this case was simply irrational. Gao Congzhang was also unreasonable, always claiming he did everything for their daughter. He made himself sound like a saint. She had cheated on her first husband and found Chang Shihai because she thought her first marriage was unhappy. After marrying Chang Shihai and living an even worse life, she began to miss the good things about Gao Congzhang. The more important reason was that Chang Shihai was lazy and idle by nature. After he was sent to prison, Xiong Jiafen was left to raise the children alone. She had also given birth to a son for Chang Shihai after their marriage. A woman with 2 children and no source of income naturally thought of her ex-husband Gao Congzhang again. When Chang Shihai was arrested, Xiong Jiafen was 8 months pregnant, and her ex-husband Gao Congzhang had returned to his hometown from the city where he worked. After Xiong Jiafen gave birth to her son, she could not afford to raise 2 children, so she called Gao Congzhang to cry about her troubles. I just cannot understand how these people could be so shameless. How could she ask her ex-husband to raise the child she had with her lover? Gao Congzhang was also completely out of his mind. Not only did he give money and help to support the child of his ex-wife who had betrayed him, but he also built a house for Xiong Jiafen's family. It left me utterly baffled. Honest man was not enough to describe him. Xiong Jiafen was shameless, and I thought he was no better. Did he have no self-respect at all? Then Xiong Jiafen decided that her ex-husband whom she had once betrayed was a good man again and cheated on Chang Shihai once more. Without divorcing Chang Shihai, she was already thinking about how to remarry the ex-husband she had betrayed before. I really cannot understand how these people acted like animals, as if they had never been educated by modern civilization. There was another far more important reason why Xiong Jiafen insisted on getting a divorce. It was the incident mentioned earlier where Chang Shihai was sent to prison in the second year after their marriage. I was absolutely furious. What kind of person was he? She had cheated on her husband and brought this vile man into her home only for him to rape her daughter who was under 10 years old. After the abuse, Xiao did not dare to tell her negligent mother. It was the child's grandmother who found out. Even such a young child knew her own mother could not be trusted. The police were called and Chang Shihai was sentenced to prison for rape. Only then did she realize she had been wrong and should never have chosen this scum. She complained about how lazy and bad-tempered Chang Shihai was and how he would beat her at the slightest provocation. Was this vile man not like this from the very beginning? He was a terrible person, yet she had treated him like a treasure and divorced her husband just to bring him home. It was bad enough that she had brought suffering upon herself, but she had also dragged her innocent daughter and innocent parents down with her. The whole family had been ruined. She even had the nerve to say that Chang Shihai bullied her parents and that her elderly parents waited on him like servants. What did she have to feel wronged about? It was all her own doing. She had no right to cry. Chang Shihai was a well-known hooligan and rogue in the area. Even village officials dreaded hearing his name. Yet a woman still chased after such a worthless man. If she had not fallen for his sweet talk at the beginning, he would never have hurt her. She knew full well that Chang Shihai was a bastard and spoke of how terrible he was, yet she still went and had a child with him. She did not hesitate to get pregnant. It made me so angry that I wanted to curse out loud. He even kicked and beat her while she was pregnant, yet she still insisted on giving birth to his son. What was she crying for? She had no right to cry at all. She could claim ignorance for having her daughter when she was young, but she was already 30 years old and still so foolish. After Chang Shihai was sent to prison, Xiong Jiafen filed for divorce, but Chang Shihai refused to agree. I truly could not understand it. Chang Shihai had gone to prison for raping Xiong Jiafen's daughter, yet she still could not get a divorce just because he refused. Because Chang Shihai was in prison, Xiong Jiafen did not firmly push through with the divorce. At that time, she had rekindled her relationship with her ex-husband Gao Congzhang and was only thinking about remarrying him. He was only going to be in prison for 5 years. Did she not know he would be released one day? Did she really need someone to tell her that? Her tiny brain could only plan for the next day and could not think about the future at all. This scum who had raped her own daughter came back and continued to live in Xiong Jiafen's home after his release. He continued to beat Xiong Jiafen. Yet Xiong Jiafen and her family could do nothing about it. He not only beat Xiong Jiafen but also her mother. It was a terrible sin. All of this was because the daughter had brought a wolf into the house. Gao Congzhang was also an unbelievable person. His own daughter had been raped by his ex-wife's lover, yet he still gave her money to raise the lover's son. He even let his daughter continue to live under the same roof as the rapist and never thought about fighting for custody of his daughter. Like Xiong Jiafen, he let everything go and only thought about remarrying her. What was wrong with him? Xiong Jiafen said she wanted a divorce, but Chang Shihai threatened her. He said he would not let her family go if she divorced him and would hurt her daughter. And Xiong Jiafen softened her heart. She claimed she was doing it all for the children. And what happened next? She let the scum who had raped her daughter stay in her home and forced the young girl to face this monster. If Chang Shihai had been murdered, Xiong Jiafen was the top suspect. But she was a woman and could not be sure of succeeding alone. The most likely accomplice was Gao Congzhang. Gao Congzhang already hated Chang Shihai deeply because of the earlier divorce and the sexual assault on his daughter. Besides that, Xiong Jiafen had also been getting close to another man in the village recently. I could not help but wonder how many men she was involved with. He sympathized with Xiong Jiafen's situation, so he often helped her financially. Really, was he that kind and good-hearted? First there was Gao Congzhang paying to raise the lover's son, and now a kind-hearted villager giving money and help out of too much sympathy. Chen Biyong also had frequent contact with Xiong Jiafen around the time Chang Shihai disappeared. On the night of August 17, some villagers saw Chen Biyong at Xiong Jiafen's home. After the incident, Chen Biyong rarely appeared near Xiong Jiafen's house. There was also an outsider named Qiao Yonghe. Good grief, how many men were there exactly? Chen Biyong from the neighboring village acted out of too much sympathy. What was Qiao Yonghe's reason? For love and peace in the universe. What was wrong with all of their brains? Was she the only woman left in the whole world? After Xiong Jiafen was arrested, she confessed to murdering Chang Shihai together with her ex-husband, her father, and several other men. It took 5 people to kill 1 man. It was a terrible deal. I truly could not feel any sympathy for her at all. I felt that none of these people had the intelligence of a normal person combined. After they beat Chang Shihai to death together, they buried him in the family's own farmland under the leadership of Xiong Jiafen's father. If even one person had stayed out of it, the 2 young children would have had someone to look after them. Instead, the whole family ended up in prison. The only adult left was elderly and had mild intellectual disabilities. At first I thought Xiong Jiafen's father was one of the more pitiful ones, but he had married a woman with intellectual disabilities and watched his wife get beaten. He was not much better. The most pitiful one was Xiong Jiafen's daughter. Her own parents were both foolish. She was raped by her stepfather before she was 10 years old. Now she was 15 years old and both her parents were in prison for murder. She also had a younger brother, the son of the man who raped her, and she might even have to take care of him. It was hard to imagine how this girl would live her life. People could say nice empty words, but was reality really that easy? After the incident, many villagers signed a joint letter asking for leniency for Xiong Jiafen and her father.